Hello everyone, welcome you all. Here I am going to discuss how submarines work. Submarines are naval vessels and these are used for the either defense applications or some of the other scientific research and other applications in the sea. And this submarine is a naval vessel which can be used either for the floating applications or it can be used for the submerged applications also. And here I am going to discuss how the submarine floats and how the submarine will be submerged inside the water. And also, I'll discuss what are the different components of the submarines, what are its requirements for its operation. Its definition is that submarine is a naval vessel that is capable of propelling itself beneath the water as well as on the water's surface. The main cause for a submarine to work is its ability to control its buoyancy. The buoyancy is the upward force acting by the water on the any floating or a submerged body, and that force is to be balanced in the submarine. That is by filling and emptying ballast tanks with water, which allows it to sink when needed and rise back up to the surface by adjusting its density relative to the surrounding water based on the Archimedes principle. The Archimedes principle is that whenever any object is submerged into the water, the same volume of the water will be replaced. And that is the principle on that this submarine is also work, and that is by the adjusting its density. Here working will take submarines use ballast tanks to control their buoyancy and dive underwater or on the surface. This is the first part, which is the for the uh, floating at the surface as well as submerged into the water. And the other part is they also use propulsion systems for its travel, sonar system for the detecting, and life support system for the cruise of the submarine. This in the second part will take. And first is how submarines work. Here, this is the submarine figure what we can take, and this is the ballast tank. The ballast tank is usually filled with water when it should submerge. It is filled with the air when it is floating. Here, it is completely filled with the air, and due to that, the buoyant forces are balanced, so the submarine is floats at the surface. And because its density is lesser than the outside water. And if it is to be submerged, for that it should start diving. And during that diving, the operation what are carried out, the water from the outside sea is pumped into this ballast tank. And that ballast tank inside the water will be replaces the air. The air will be go out through the vents. Usually the valves are used in order to escape it due to the pressurized easily the other water and air will not enters into the ballast tank. And here also valves are used and pumps are used to supply the water into the ballast tank. That is starts diving. When the ballast tank is completely filled with water, then it will be submerged inside the water for the particular distance into the sea from the surface, and that will be usually calculated and also maintained during its submarine travel under the submerged case. And next, floating, how it floats, that one in separately if you take. When a submarine is on the surface, its ballast tanks are filled with air, making it less dense than water. This causes an upward force called buoyancy, which counteracts gravity. That buoyancy force counteracts in the upward direction, it will be acting, and density is gravity is acting in the downward direction. This again, the vents are used, outer hull of this ballast tank and inner hull, and this is the ballast tank opening are provided. The usually opening are the holes, and through that the water will be supplied. And when it starts filling, that it will be dive. And here the cross section of this ballast tank and submarine we can see. This is a periscope, and here the compressed air will be usually stored inside, and valves are used in order to supply the air. This compressed air will be supplied when inside the sea it is submerged condition. The compressed air will be supplied here into the this ballast tank, and the water will be pumped outside so that the air will be completely filled with, and that is starts moving upward direction to the surface. And the valves are used now to flow control and ballast tank the partially filled in this case. The interior here where the crew lives and works. Here the inside part, what is there where actually the crews which usually control and also live during the propulsion of this submarine. Diving, when a submarine dives, water is pumped into the ballast tanks, making it denser than the water and causing it to sink. The water will be pumped inside to that one, and it will be starts diving into the water. Filling and emptying of that water, how it will be taking place. The submarines have the ballast tanks that can be filled with the water or air. To the surface, the crew pumps air into the tanks to replace the water. And when it is to be submerged, the water will be air will be replaced by the water. Hydroplanes, submarines also have small wings called hydroplanes that help adjust the angle of their dive. Okay, the submarine usually a heavy naval vessel, and that should be dive in the proper angle. It should be maintained horizontally, and to maintain that one, the hydroplanes are used. Hydroplanes are the these are the pins what are there attached to on that one. The hydroplanes usually those will be balanced in order to maintain its angle of diving. Propulsion, for the propulsions, engines are used. Submarines use engines, batteries, or nuclear power sources to move through the water. Engines also used, batteries also used to run it, or nuclear power can be used. Propellers, submarines use the propellers to push them through the water. Here, the similar to the ship, the propellers are used here to travel inside the water under the submerged uh, condition as well as on the surface. And for that, the power what is required, okay, that is supplied through a drive motor. And for the drive motor, the power is supplied either through diesel engines or through battery or from the nuclear run turbines. And thereby, the electricity is also generated from that. The electricity is used for the all the running of all the appliances inside the submarine, okay, in order to maintain the light inside that one, and also used for the that generation of the oxygen, and sometimes it is used in the hydrogen cell fuel cells also, the splitting of the water into hydrogen and the oxygen. And for this, the power whatever is required is supplied by the diesel engines or for the battery or from the nuclear power. Sonar system, finding targets. Submarines use the sonar to find the enemy submarines or other targets. Sonar works picking sound waves. Okay, usually the sonar system is the inside the water, the waves it can receive by the sound. Okay, that is the sonar system we can call. How the radar system works on the ground. Here the sonar system from the source, it will generate the that waves, and it will travel, and whenever the it hits by the object, then it will receive the again back the waves, and based on that one it can be detected, and later onwards uh, it will be received supplied to this one the ships or any other submarines, and thereby that will be detected And later onwards, if any enemy submarines or any object those to be required to destroyed, then that will launch its armaments or missiles to destroy it. All these things usually happens inside the sea also by using submarines. Life support system, that is air quality, one thing. The other thing, to maintaining the air quality for the human beings which are there inside the submarines, that is also very important thing, that is called as a life support system. That is the one part is air quality and detail how their lifestyle is there during the life working inside the submarine. All these things the separately we can discuss, but briefly the air quality will take here. The submarines have a limited supplies of air, so they need to replenish oxygen and remove the carbon dioxide and moisture. The carbon dioxide which is producing by the running of the engines as well as for from the breathing of the human beings or crews what are present inside the submarine, and moisture what is producing due to the surrounded water, and that should be replaced from the inside space so that the crews will be lives comfortably. And for that, how the arrangements are there here we can see, and how the oxygen will be produced we can see from the other part. Here the how the arrangements are inside the submarine are there we can see. From that, the first one is a propulsion motor which will be propels the submarine, and here is a hydrogen storage, the hydrogen storage and oxygen storage. And that oxygen and hydrogen we are going to get from the fuel cell plant. The fuel cell how it will work, that will take separately here. And this is the operating system of the submarine, and these are the electronics to control it, and the battery for the power supply, and crews, these are the crew quarters. The crews usually stays here, and the armaments which are required while traveling inside the sea to protect from the enemy submarines or other ships. And the control room, here it will be controlled the submarine, and there is a diesel generator which will be generating the electricity from it. And here is a hostable devices. The hostable devices usually on the top of the part of the submarine. And here the main what we want to take that one, life support system. Life support system means oxygen. The oxygen what is required, that is a, which is to be for the breathing of the human beings, and that will be produced usually using the electrolysis method. The electrolysis is the method is the, that is when the electricity is supplied through the two this electrodes, positive and negative, the water will be splits into the hydrogen and the oxygen, and that oxygen is supplied to the oxygen tank, and the hydrogen is supplied to the hydrogen storage tank. The oxygen whatever producing, that is used for the supply to the crews, okay, for their breathing and also for the running of the engine. And this method is used for the uh, supplying of the air without other fuels also. Okay, that we are going to take. This is the life support system, how it will be maintained. Fuels used. Modern submarines use either diesel fuel in conventional diesel electric submarines or nuclear fuel in nuclear powered submarines. Some newer designs are exploring alternative options like hydrogen fuel cells for extended submerged operations. Here, diesel electric submarines. These rely on the diesel engines to generate electricity when surfaced or using snorkel, okay, which is breathes the for the running of the engine, which then powers the electric motors to drive the propeller while submerged. Nuclear submarines. These use nuclear reactors to generate heat, which creates steam to drive sub turbines and produce propulsion power, allowing for a much longer submerged durations without refueling. The nuclear fuels are very smaller in quantity, producing a large quantity of the heat. That's why by using the small fuel only we can run the turbine for the longer duration of the period and produce the propulsion power as well as the electricity generation for the operation of the submarine. And diesel electric here also at the top when it is running, okay, by using the air for the running of the diesel engine, and there the power is stored in the batteries, and those are used for the running it. And modern recent engines, what are their air independent propulsion, AIP it is called. Some advanced submarines are developing a systems like hydrogen fuel cells to extend underwater endurance without needing to surface for air. Okay, that air without needing the air. The how the submarines can be run. As I mentioned earlier, the fuel cells are used. Hydrogen fuel cells means if you supply the electricity to the water by using the two electrodes, the water will be split into the hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen is used for the as a fuel for the combustion, and oxygen used for the running of the engine of hydrogen fueled engines for the propulsion for the generation of the electricity, and that same oxygen is used for supplying to the crews. That is the air independent propulsion, AIP systems. The such a systems also are using, and without requirement of the air it can for the longer period it can be run under the water. That is about the brief and general discussion about the submarines, how the submarines work, and detailed individual each submarines discussion I am going to take in the further sessions. Thanks for watching. If you like, share, subscribe, and comment.